Tastes like water. It's water? What's going on, everyone? It's Chris from 416 Coffee, and this is episode 20 of Coffee with Chris. Now, in this episode, I just wanted to talk about a few common problems that people have when they're using our coffee at home. So, the thing is, people come in all the time, they have a great experience at the cafe, and then sometimes they go home and they're like, hey, the coffee was a little weak or the coffee was too strong. And I'm just trying to make this video to explain what might be going wrong with your brewing techniques at home so that you can keep getting great results from your coffee. So the first complaint I get is that the coffee is too weak. I get that sometimes where they're like, hey, I had it here, loved it, went home, coffee was weak. And that could be three different things. So the first thing could be that your water temperature is too low. Now, if you're using a light roasted or medium roasted coffee, you need those water temperatures way up. So you want to pretty much start pouring immediately after the boil is completed. If you're using something like a dark roast, you might want to let the water come off a boil for a bit longer. But if you're using light or medium roasted coffee, you need that water to be super hot so that you can get a nice complete extraction from those grinds. Now, number two, and probably the most common one, is that you're grinding too coarse. If as you're adding water to your pour over, the water is coming out at almost the same rate, your grind is way too coarse. And what's happening is that water is just blowing through the grinds and it's not really getting time to extract any flavor from them. And what the result is a really hollow cup of coffee where you don't have a lot of flavor and there's no taste there. It kind of tastes like hot, slightly flavored water. So dial back your grind and always measure your brew time. Like if you have a timer running, this will be your tester. Because if you're getting a brew done in like 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes, that's usually a sign that your grind's way too coarse. Number three, so if you're not using a scale, you could always run into this where you're not using enough coffee. Now the issue is, if you're brewing 1 cup of coffee and you know how you like it and you have some sort of consistent recipe, then that'll work. But the second you try to up that recipe or cut it back, there could be inconsistencies, which is why I always recommend buying a scale. And it doesn't have to be a fancy Hario scale or one of those really expensive coffee smart scales that are like $200. You can just go and buy a food scale, and that is a great place to start. Because all you need to know is how much coffee is going in, how much brew water you're using. And like I said, we have all the ratios and parameters online. Usually 70 grams per liter is where I like to start for my coffee. I like my coffee a bit stronger. Other places recommend 65 grams per liter. But like I said, me personally, 70 grams per liter. And if you have a scale, it's very easy to measure this. And this will ensure that you're always using enough coffee for the amount of water that you need. So the second type of problem that people have, and this is slightly less common, is that they have astringent coffee that's almost too strong, almost muddy maybe they describe it as, where it tastes over extracted. Whereas in the hollow cup of coffee, we have a coffee that's under extracted, a coffee that didn't spend enough time brewing. In this situation, we have a coffee that's over extracted. And this pretty much only has two causes. Now, number one, your grind is way too fine. So you've went too far in the opposite direction. The water is just kind of dripping out. You're getting brew times of 5, 6, 7 minutes even. And this is a case of your grind is just way too fine. Now, very simple fix, you just got to coarsen it up a bit. What this will result in though is like a cup of coffee that just tastes bitter, over extracted. Who made this? Did use the whole damn bag in here? Jesus. Very harsh on the palate, maybe even a drying sensation on the palate. Now the second issue, once again, comes down to our friend the scale. You could be using way too much coffee. So depending on how much you're brewing, your ratio could be way off, where your coffee is, there's way too much and it's absorbing too much of the water, creating too much of a coffee bed for your brewer, and it's never getting down. Or by the time it does get down, it's a it's a lot of coffee that's under extracted or over extracted depending on your grind, and your result is a poor cup. So basically, it's gonna. I know I'm beating the same horse, but invest in a scale. It'll make your life so much easier. Your phone has a timer on it, so you can always time your brew. But you need a scale. If you don't have a scale, it's very hard to do this with any sort of consistency. The next best thing would be getting your spoons. Like if you have a tablespoon or a tablespoon is a great place to start. Get a tablespoon. Look it up online how much a tablespoon holds, and then level them and measure that way. If you don't want to get a scale. Now, obviously, there's going to be some discrepancy there because not every coffee is going to have the same density per volume, whereas the tablespoon's a volume measurement. But I still think it's better than nothing. So, if you don't want to buy a scale and you have a tablespoon at home, level it off. Look up online how many grams are in a tablespoon. Actually, I'll look it up right now for you. All right. So, according to Google, 1 tablespoon is 15 grams. So there you go. If you don't have a scale, level out your tablespoon that you use for your baking or whatever, level it out and throw it in there, 15 grams. Assume that it's pretty correct, 15 grams. And then as far as water goes, sometimes kettles have marks on the side of them where they have that clear space where you can see the water. Maybe use that to measure your brew water. And at least there's some sort of measurement so you can at least tailor in your grind. Use your phone to time your brews, and that's the best way you can do it without buying a scale. But as you know, I highly recommend just picking up a scale. Any scale, it doesn't have to be this scale. Recommend buying the scale. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. 20 episodes, can't believe it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.